Thank you, young lady, for having introduced me so lavishly. I may not deserve some of the compliments. Just Deepak Verma and Mrs. Verma, the management of the Altius Institute of Universal Studies, the staff and dear students of this institute, remember the bar, a guest from the media, ladies and gentlemen, a very good evening to all of you. You just heard Justice Deepak Mishra telling you as to how I readily agreed to come to this function at Indore. Justice Deepak Verma has been a very good friend of mine. And when he makes a request, I can't resist. I have to say yes. And that's one reason why I agreed to come here. But the second reason is I love to talk to students because I feel and I think truly that they are the future of our country. And I thought this was an opportunity to interact with some students who may make a big difference to the future of this country. At least I'll get an opportunity to tell them the mistakes that we have made during our times and not repeat them if they want to see the country in a better condition future. And therefore, I seize this opportunity to come here and talk to you. I went round the campus of the Institute, saw the different classrooms, different facilities provided here, particularly to students of law. And I was reminded of my days as students of law. I found in the brochure of the Altius Institute of Universal Studies that unless you get a 50% in class 12, and that too in English medium, you are not eligible to be admitted to this institute. During our time of studies of law, if you do not make anywhere else MA, MSc after BA, then you can always make it to the law college. That is our times. And then, during our times, when I studied the Madhusudan Law College, it was a part-time course. Morning 7 to 9. Or evening 7 to 9. That's all. 2 hours. Not a whole-time course. And then Madhusudan Law College had not a beautiful building like this. It had some few asbestos roof sheds with some chairs, absolutely no library, few old books. And the law teachers will come and teach. They are not very sincere. Most of them are lawyers who did not make it well in the profession and therefore had to come and teach us. And I remember one of the teachers who subsequently became the principal of law college, he taught us company law. Company law starts with the first chapter, memorandum of association of the company. Second chapter, articles of association of the company. Third chapter, fourth and last chapter, winding up the company, dissolution of the company. Many chapters. His first class was memorandum of association, and his last class at the end, year end, was articles of association, second chapter. And that is how our company law was taught. And we had to take the exams. That was our predicament. the difference in the study of law from those days of our times and now a big different, totally different. Law is a much more serious study. You have national law universities throughout the country now in almost every state. I think 13 or 14 of them have them. I have 14 already. And the difficulty with the National Law Institute is the charges are very high. It's 1.5 lakhs per annum to a student without perhaps the residential facilities. And here I am told they charge you 90,000 rupees. So there are difficulties there. They provide good facilities, no doubt. But it's beyond the reach of many of our students, both financially and they can't access it because of the competition in merit to get into it. So I would say students who are studying in the Altius Institute of Universal Studies must seize all this opportunity that they are getting to learn law seriously. And of course, the other two subjects, commerce and management, very seriously. This kind of an opportunity very rare. Opportunity, I always compare it to a penalty corner in a hockey match. Very difficult to score goals in really international hockey or class hockey. Very difficult. Both sides are equally placed. But if you manage to get a penalty hit in hockey, if you don't convert that into a goal, you have lost the chance. That I compare it as with opportunity. That's called opportunity. It's also like it's a handball in an international football match. If you get a chance for handball in the goal, near the goal post and you hit that to a goal, very good. If you don't make it, you miss the chance. Opportunity is something like that. And this is the kind of opportunity that students in Madhya Pradesh are getting to learn seriously law, and I would suggest that you must make the best use of this opportunity. To the management, I would say they have done a great job. We think of, you see, when TAPI judgments were delivered, it was delivered in the context of professional managements, medical colleges, engineering colleges. And the Supreme Court thought that country does not have the resources to provide facilities of medical colleges and professional colleges to so many students who want to study but they are not be able to make it because government colleges for MBBS or for engineering were very few. So TAPI made a difference. All that it said was, a private citizen can, in exercise of his fundamental right under Article 19(1)(g) of the Constitution, can also start a professional institution, an educational institution, a school. Earlier it was only the government which could do it. It was a fundamental right of a citizen. And earlier, when the private persons were doing it, the scheme was, it was doing it on behalf of the government as an agent of the government, so that it had to take the permission. Now it's a fundamental right. And this judgment in TAPI of the Supreme Court has led to many citizens taking up this job of providing education, considering them to be a fundamental right to their occupation. And this is how these institutes have come. They have done a tremendous job. by providing good education to the students of Madhya Pradesh in commerce, management, law. I'm told they are going to take up also undergraduate studies in science. I must congratulate the management for having done an excellent job, and they must keep it up. Now, coming to the topic, the role of citizens in development, protection of lawful society. You've heard Justice Deepak Mishra now on this topic. His approach was to appeal to your individual conscience as citizens. My approach would be entirely different. My approach would be an approach from the point of view of the Constitution, an approach from the point of view of society, an approach from the point of view of law. Not so much an appeal to your individual conscience, but as an appeal to your mind to appreciate what has happened in India. In India, when our constitution makers made the constitution in 1950, they were looking at India as a feudal society. No facilities to the poor. There were only rich landlords who were prospering. There was hardly any capitalism. No industry. Very few industries. And the agricultural lands were in the hand of zamindars. This was basically the predicament. Very few people who were prosperous. In this scenario, the constitution was conceived. At that time they thought that we can't give right to education, right to health, right to nutrition, right to work, because the moment you confer this as a right, they can enforce in the court of law. A right is no right unless it is enforced in the court of law. That is why Justice Deepak Verma mentioned, they are put in part 4, the narrated principles part 4, not in part 3. But what could they guarantee as rights? Right to equality, equality in the courts of law, equality for law, equal protection of laws in Article 14 of the Constitution. They could guarantee right against discrimination, without discrimination on the basis of caste, birth, race, sex, no discrimination. So if there is a public place, in Article 15 they say, Article 16, right to equality in matter. By merit, please come in. By seniority, go up. Or by merit comes seniority, go up in promotion, in public service. Article 17, abolition of untouchability. Article 18, removal of all titles. Article 19, freedoms. Freedom of speech and expression. Freedom to assemble peaceably. Freedom to form an association union. Freedom to reside in any part of the country. Freedom to carry on any trade, business and occupation. Freedoms, with some restrictions of course. Similarly, in Article 21, personal liberty and life. 25, right to religion, practice any religion. So these were rights which did not require resources, did not require economic resources. They could be guaranteed straight away. And they could be also enforced in the court of law. If you discriminate against anybody, the state discriminates, he can come to the court of law and enforce it. Strike down a particular discriminatory law or strike down a particular executive act which is discriminatory. If somebody's freedom is taken away, he can challenge it in the court of law and enforce it. No difficulty. No resources are required. But supposing if somebody came with the right, say, I am not being given my right to education, I must be taught up to the age of 14 years. How do you give the rights to everybody? It's not possible. That is why they were not granted by the Constitution. Initially, Part 3 of the Constitution. Rights which could be enforced in the court of law were granted. Rights for which there were no resources were not granted, but kept in Part 4 of the Constitution. If this is the constitutional background, then what did the Constitution mean by development? Did it mean 5-star hotels? Did it mean Terminal 3 of the Delhi airport? I'm asking this question, you think, as students of law, and the answers are there in the Constitution. The Constitution never meant that. Did it mean GDP at the rate of 10% or 9%? It did not mean. Constitution did not think of it. But look at what has happened to our entire culture. Look at the media, newspapers, television, government, GDP, GDP, GDP. Why? Because this has come from the Western thoughts, to the American thoughts. I'm not opposed to it. They don't have a directive principles, Part 4 of the Constitution. They don't have it. They have right to property, they have a Bill of Rights. They don't have a directive principle, Part 4 of the Constitution. So their thoughts are entirely different. Their constitution makers never thought of all these things. But our constitution makers thought that India is in a feudal society, our poorer people have to be brought up, right? And we can't give it now. Whatever we can give now under Part 3 fundamental rights we give them. Whatever we can't give them, we must promise them both the preamble and Part 4 of the Constitution, to which Justice Deepak Verma mentioned. Now, many of you will put a question to me. Why not? Why not we think of those developments? We can think of those kind of developments. But we are discussing a very topic on citizens, role of citizens. What does a citizen mean? Every human being has many roles in society. First, he is a member of the family. So he can be a father, he can be a mother, he can be a brother, he can be a sister, she can be a sister, member of the family. And he loves that family and gains happiness out of it. He is also a producer of goods, either as an industrialist, or as a worker, or as a management person, producer of goods, or he is a producer of services, like a lawyer, like a doctor. That's how he contributes to the economic development. He is also a religious person. He has a religion. And that may mean He may belong to the Hindu society, he may belong to the Muslim society, he may belong to the church, so on and so forth. But he is also a political being. Political being means he is a member of the Indian Union. And that way he is a citizen. So when we talk of role of citizens in development, protection of a lawful society, the very concept of citizen connotes your membership of the Indian Union. And as membership of the Indian Union, you have adopted this constitution. And you have described what kind of development you want. You can't think of a development, dehorse the constitution. And what kind of a development you want? As Justice Deepak Verma has mentioned, Article 39. And Article 38. And Article 38 means a just social order. I would put the language very nicely. This is what it says. The state shall strive to promote the welfare of the people by securing and protecting as effectively as it may a social order in which justice, social, economic and political shall inform all institutions of national life. In other words, our development must provide for a social order where there is some amount of equities. And they have described it. In particular, it says, state shall in particular strive to minimize the inequalities in income, endeavor to eliminate inequalities in status, facilities and opportunities, not only amongst individuals but also among groups of people residing in different areas or engaged in different vocations. And this is also what is mentioned in the preamble of the Constitution, socio-economic justice. So development, by development, we cannot mean just construction, civil constructions, 5-star hotels, excellent restaurants, wide roads, good cars, good televisions, good air conditioners. By development, we mean provide the minimum facilities first of primary education, good health, good minimum facilities to as many people as possible. But if you look at the development process, it has been derailed. It is not moving towards this. This is the point I'm making. If you don't have this kind of a development process, what is the consequence? One consequence is Nirbhaya. That ruthless and brutal person who committed that act with Nirbhaya on 26th December. Where did he come from? From the slums. What education do you expect from him? What culture do you expect from him? Except lust, which he has not seen in life. He has nothing in him. He behaved like a crude animal with no culture in him. He is a product of socio-economic society. I am not justifying his act. If he is committing an offense, he has to be punished. But if you don't develop the manner in which the Constitution says socio-economic order, the consequence would be producing more of criminals, producing more of Naxalites, producing all types of urchins, street urchins. Why? They don't have they don't have education, they don't have food, they don't have clothing, they don't have shelter, they have no future, they have no prospect. So socio-economic order, a just socio-economic order, has to be the goal of development. The goal of development cannot be only civil constructions. Similarly, lawful society is not possible. Now, there is a role of citizens in lawful society. Protect the lawful society. Can a lawful society be possible without equality of law? Without equal protection of laws? Without discrimination? These are all constitutional values in Article 15. Without equality of opportunities, matters of education, equality of opportunity matters of employment, without the freedoms to practice one religion, if the majority group, religious group, does not allow the minority religious group to practice their own religion, what will happen? Violence. You can't prevent violence. If there is violence, where is the lawful society? If you take away somebody's liberty, if you take away somebody's life, all these things will result in violence. You see in Jammu and Kashmir. You see everywhere. So we have to respect the constitutional values that are there in Article 14, that is equality, Article 15, against discrimination, Article 16, equality, opportunity in matters of public employment, Article 19, the freedoms that I spoke about, Article 21, right to personal liberty and life, Article 25, right to to practice his own religion, Article 26, religious domination to set up their own institutions, and so on and so forth. Article 29, cultural and education rights. Many culture there, many tribals there, they must be able to preserve the rights. If you invade those rights, if you try to impose something on them, obviously they will revolt. They lead to violence. You see what is happening in the Northeast. Kokrajhar, in Assam. They want to protect their culture. Nobody is prepared to give up their culture. So therefore, what could be the roles of citizens in this kind of a scenario? Towards development, this kind of development. Difficulty is, development process is such that does not allow social justice, socio-economic justice. You consider it in the family, you look at it inside the society. Whoever is rich, he wants to get still richer. If today I have one house, I think of a second house. If I have a second house, I think of a third house. If I have one car, I think of a second car. If I have a second car, I think of a third car. Why? Because economics of development is such. It is acquisitive in nature. जिसका पास है वो और करना चाहता है. It's a very difficult thing and a very difficult force. And imagine if somebody becomes very, very rich, what happens? He controls the state machinery. Political parties today are in the hands of these big rich people. You can't stop it. But this, the Constitution never conceived. It wanted to protect the Constitution, protect the government. But no. And how it wanted to protect? See, the other article Justice Deepak Verma mentioned. Article 39 in the Constitution. Look at the wisdom of those constitution makers. The state shall in particular direct its policy towards securing that the ownership and control of the material resources of the community are so distributed as to best subserve the common good, that the operation of the economic system does not result in concentration of wealth and means of production to the common detriment. If you don't follow this, if you allow concentration of wealth in a few hands, those few wealthy persons will dictate terms to our political parties who run the government. But I am happy that many persons, many responsible citizens are raising this debate now. We have to prevent it. How do we prevent it? It's a very difficult thing. Because our elections require funds. And for funds, they have to go to these big wealthy people. This is the dilemma for democracy. How to sort it out? This is the responsibility of the citizens. Citizens have to think. As citizens, we can't think of any other development but the development as conceived in the Constitution. And we have to mobilize opinion, debate, discuss, influence mind, and ensure that the voting process is such that political parties who are bent upon obliging the few and rich don't come back to power. And mind you, the political parties are yielding because political parties are not keen on obliging. Their primary aim to come to power. But if public opinion is formed against the political party, no, if you do this, you lose power, things will change. And this creation of public opinion by citizen, understanding it, is the most difficult task. We are in almost a transitory phase. How do we do it? The better it is. I feel that 2014 election is going to be on this. Who gains control? Common man or the rich? And the citizen's job to ensure that the common man, through the political process, retains its control over the state machinery. Otherwise, we lose the chance. We lose the opportunity. Remember, Aristotle said, middle class the vanguard for all transition. Biggest force the middle class. Why? They're the intellectual. And middle class means all these people who are sitting here. Why? They are the elite. They are the brains. They are the speakers. They are the opinion builders. They are the persons who can make the transition from a society in India which is feudal to a society which has a just, proper, fair, equitable social order. I would just end by quoting the preamble of the Constitution. This is what the Constitution says: the people of India having solemnly resolved to constitute India into a sovereign, socialist, secular, democratic republic and to secure to all its citizens justice, social, economic, and political equality of status and of opportunity, and promote among them all fraternity, assure dignity of the individual, and unity and integrity of the nation. It's all up to you how to act as citizens and fulfill this promise in the Constitution of India. Thank you very much.